If you're looking to level up your UX, content, or product design practice to confidently and joyfully tackle complexity, ask the million-dollar questions, and design digital systems that actually work, you are so in the right place. Welcome to the UX Level Up podcast. I'm Sophia Prater, and for over a decade, I've been teaching professionals how to make the most valuable and often invisible parts of UX gloriously visible. We will untangle the structure beneath the surface before jumping into screens, saving time, money, and headaches, and having so much fun doing it. Together, let's UX collaboration, break down silos, and build shared understanding that sets everyone up for success. Let's become the systems thinkers that our teams, and quite honestly, the world, are so desperately craving. Let's level up our practice and redefine what it means to be a UX designer. Let's jump into it. Allie Ofisher, welcome back to the UX Level Up podcast. It is so great to have you here 3 times in a row to talk to us about the representation round. And so for those that are just popping in and don't know you, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Allie Ofisher. So I'm an advanced OOUX strategist, and I'm also a UX consultant. I've been using OOUX since 2020, and I am the what do you call it? The owner of the representation.
You're owning it. You're owning representation round. I would say like lead instructor.
Yes,
You're the lead instructor. We don't really have good titles for these, but
know.
yeah, you owned it in Foundations, taught everybody representation round for OOUX Foundations, and we are working on this gorgeous refilm of the OOUX Masterclass, which is like the masterpiece. And I just feel like I'm getting this amazing upgrade with having Marisa coming in and owning the requirements round, and Jake owning the prioritization round, and you coming in and owning the representation round. And I'm just so excited to get it out to people. Yes. Cohort 11 will be the first to get it. So if you're listening to this, probably cohort 11 is already full in session, but we will be opening up the masterclass to the public again soon. It's been off the market for over a year now because we've been percolating on it, but now it's really happening. It'll be out soon, and you'll get to see the like, again, I was calling it a glow up for a while, but like the complete restructuring of the representation round to just make it so much more aligned and so much more effective.
All new. I'm so excited for it. This is one of my favorite pieces to talk through because it's like getting us back to the screens, but where we said, don't think about screens all throughout the ORCA process. We're like, just wait. Because I've seen so many teams just so hyperfixate on screens. And then you figure out structurally everything. And then you get to come and are like, now I get to represent these things and I have a really clear understanding of them. And I'm going to make really great decisions and I'm going to be able to defend it. And I'm going to be also have this like really cool superpower so that I can look at other people's products and start to see where the cracks are in them and like where they're going wrong and some symptoms, some deeper foundational issues that they might be having, which is just making you a more valuable UX designer. And I love it and could talk about it forever.
We are kind of talking about it forever today.
Yeah, we kind of are. We're doing all of these in a row.
We might be recording all these episodes in one batch. By the time we get to attribute representation, we're just going to be like, so
hi, I'm Allie.
Hi, attributes are cool. We want to represent them. No, we're gonna get fired up about shapeshifters too.
Oh yeah.
So actually, you said something that I want to like divert to before we get into CTA representation and what goes wrong when people just willy-nilly put their buttons anywhere. Does it look like a good place for a button? Yeah, there's a whole science to button placement that we will get into a little bit here. But you were talking about being on teams and seeing teams that they're just like obsessed with the screens and getting to the screens as fast as possible. What happens when we just go straight into screens? What have you seen happen?
Oh my gosh. Well, one, I would just say, like, I was just in a refinement session with a team. And it was so fascinating because they didn't have screens.
Like you're showing.
Like agile refinement. Yeah.
Okay.
But usually we do because this is what happens. They were in a refinement and they're like, well, okay, here's a description of what this needs to be. And they just need to point it, like put some numbers to it so that we understand the like how complex it is and like where to put it in the timeline of work to do. And they're like, well, once we get a screen, we'll be able to do this. And I'm like, why are we still relying on screens? Like, you don't need to. This was not something where it's like you needed to rely on screens for. And so I just hear again and again, it's like, oh, my hands are tied until I see a screen. And the problem is with screens, it's that you're trying to rely on all of this nuance and detail in a snapshot in time. It doesn't, like, our interfaces are so much more complex than that. And so if you're trying to describe, like, okay, if you filter by, especially with complex tools, like, I'm trying to filter by this and this changes. And if I can sort by this would happen. And then if I'm this role, this button should show up. But if I'm this role, that's disabled. Like, you know how many screens you'd have to design for that and then show it to someone. But then, like, if you need to make a change, it's even harder. So it's just gosh. It's compounds over and over. And then I see these designers with these like gigantic Figma files and prototypes that are just wild and really confusing. And then you get into these situations where sometimes the prototype is outdated because it has this old piece and this thing in here. And it's just like complicated. And I've just seen it backfire more than work well, especially when we're dealing with, complexity.
And when you're dealing with complexity, and there's so much complexity under the surface, and you're just designing a screen that just shows this like surface layer. And it's so interesting where you talk about like you can't scope it or figure out where it's going to go in a timeline until you see a screen. Like that's literally like, I'm trying to think of a metaphor for this, but it's like judging a person by their outfit or something like that.
Oh,
or like a book by their cover. Like, let me see how much this thing costs by looking at its packaging. It's like, no, it's the substance inside. Like the screen is like some if it's really, you're doing a lot of like complex data visualization, then like the actual design of the screen can be expensive from a developer perspective, right?
Yes.
But usually that is not what makes something expensive, is like how it's represented on the screen. Like that is the least, it's like, where is the data coming from? How complex is the data? How many edge cases are there? What does the conditional logic look like? The API that's pulling this data in, how expensive is that API? Like, what are we paying for? Like, there's so many other factors. Like the way that the pixels are arranged, like pixels are freaking cheap. Like arranging pixels does not, like doing it like this versus doing it like that is not going to make it like that much more expensive. Unless you're doing things like, oh, I want to show this on this crazy map and like do all this. Like, that can add a significant amount to the cost. But usually it's the underlying stuff that really you should be estimating on. And I will nod to Jake's episodes talking about prioritization.
Oh, I can't wait to listen to that. Yes, because it's so fascinating to me, our fixation on screen design. I feel like we've dug ourselves as UXers into this hole of needing screens and like train people to like our groups and our product owners to be like, okay, I need the screen. And this was fascinating. My brother was sharing with me this example. He's a developer, and he was saying that when the team was looking at like a larger product roadmap, they showed screens of like, this is the future of what it will look like. And their CEO was hyper fixated for some reason on the button placement of something. Not like the button what we're going to talk about, but like the icon and like the spacing of it, because it was a screen. So they were giving like critical feedback about the design of it. They were focused on that instead of being like, oh, where are we headed? And I mean, this isn't like a marketing kind of situation. This was like, here's our roadmap to help us understand like where the product and what we're going to need, what features we're going to need. So it was an internal communication, like to help level set and understand the goal of as they're kind of acquiring new companies and adding them on. And it just goes to show, like, if you show high fidelity, people are going to fixate and focus on the higher fidelity. And that's the danger, because you don't really need them to yet. Right?
No,
you don't need
they don't. And that's not their wheelhouse. Like you are hitting the nail on the head of, and we'll get to CTA representation soon, but we're getting there. Like, this is exactly what was frustrating me so much, because I would show something and it would be like, but can that be a star instead of a heart?
Yes, and
I'm like,
yes,
it doesn't matter right now. Like, don't even just, do we even need a favorite button? Like, do people want that? Does that make like sense to actually have? And the thing is stakeholders, like, because you're multitasking, because you're mushing together visualization and functionality and data structure all into one like review or something, then what you get is you get people just focusing on the things that they can see. And that is not where stakeholders are going to shine. So we talk a lot about like, oh, like I feel like I'm like always wrangling my stakeholders, or like I'm like, you're like people do not talk about like how much they love working with their stakeholders. Like that is not really like no. You laugh. You're like, oh, hilarious. Like your stakeholders are like, oh, like you have to like manage your stakeholders and wrangle them. It's like, no, they are wealths of information, right? Yeah. Like you need to be leveraging your stakeholders and working with them. And when you can do that earlier before you get into screens, and you could be working with them on like moving sticky notes around, then they have ownership on the thing now, because like they're helping make like more fundamental decisions, and they're much more useful to you, right? Because they do understand the business. They do understand like, ooh, like I don't think that's going to work, or maybe we don't have that data, yes. Or like they're often our stakeholders are subject matter experts. So we want to leverage our stakeholders, but we cannot do that very well if we're just showing them screens and just being like, and react to this.
No. And we need a better visual. Like, that's the thing. We're not saying get rid of the visuals. Like, don't show visuals. We're saying show object maps, show sticky notes, show small OOUX style sketches, which we get all into in Foundations, of like how to represent things lightly. Like the level of understanding like matches what you're showing. So important.
So, oh my gosh. So representation, when we like get to representation, we're like taking, you were talking about how much you love representation, that it's like finally like you're getting to the screen design, but it's like now you're so prepared, but it's kind of does feel like a little bit of like the floodgates are open. Like now I actually get to like see how these puzzle pieces are going to create the picture, what's
someone going to actually interact with. It is so, it's like, what is, and like then being able to see like, okay, I'm going to watch someone interact with it and see like, okay, test some of those assumptions we made and like get good feedback, but like have a really clear understanding of what everything is. It's like beautiful. I feel like a rock star. I feel like I understand all the pieces. Now I just need to put them together instead of like staring at that blank page and being like, okay, I'm going to guess and make this, but it's not going to be right. And I'm going to have to be thinking about 5 things at once because I'm trying to design this whole thing and then the screens and then the prototype. And it's like a nightmare.
And you're like just looking at like whatever research you have, or like somebody's vision deck, or like you're just trying to piece it all together to go take all this kind of chaos of information and put it into screens. There's a whole bunch of steps you can do in between to make it a whole lot easier. It actually makes it go faster in the long run. So when we think about CTA representation, I said that word, CTA representation. When we think about CTA representation, we're thinking about our calls to action. What do these objects call the user to, right? So what do they allow for? What are their affordances? In other words, what are the buttons on the thing?
Typically buttons,
buttons or menu items or something like that. So what happens when this goes wrong? What are we trying to avoid here?
This is my biggest pain point I see in products. It's what we call broken objects. It's where some places I can take an action on an object, like maybe I can bookmark it or save it or favorite it. And then I see that same object somewhere else. Maybe it's in a list now. I see a list of them or a group of them, and I can't take that same action. Or I'm looking at the little, if you go to our YouTube channel, OOUX We Did It Again, we have a great one on Taco Bell. This is my biggest gripe because it's literally like the add to cart button, which is such an important money-making CTA. On some products, tacos, they don't mostly tacos, but like they're food products, right? I don't know what we called them there, what the object, what products we'll call it. They were missing the add to cart button, and we figured out is because you need to like customize it. There's some steps in it, but regardless, if I can take an action on this object over here, I should be able to take that same action somewhere else on that same object. And to me, like what you're doing to users when you're not thinking critically about the placement, so making sure placing it is consistent and the consistency of where they show up, is you're just making people inefficient. They can't complete the task as quickly as possible. They're going to probably run into errors, and you're just making things harder to complete. And you feel it. Like this, I feel when I get to a broken object in a system, I'm like, oh, like it just feels.
It's another like hitting a brick wall. Like we were talking about that with relationship representation, where like you can't go to where you're going to go. This is like, I can't do what I want to do. I can't actually like interact with this thing, you're like, it's there. The other idea one that I like to think about is the Instagram one, where I couldn't find my edit
gaslit
button.
you.
They totally
that is
gaslit me.
good. This is this is one leads you to feel gaslit. Like, I thought I could do this and now I can't. What?
And that's where, like, in one area, I was like, I could have sworn there was an edit button, but like I'm looking at the menu and there's no edit button. No, they just moved the edit button. They pushed it into another menu. It changed around. I couldn't find it. And I was like, I guess I can't edit a reel. I guess I'll just delete it and recreate it because there's a typo in there. And that's what I did. Yes. And because I couldn't find the edit button. So the thing to remember, y'all, is that, like, people build mental models of things. And in the real world, like, if I interact with this little glass of water, I don't change how I interact with it when I go to a different room. Like, this thing doesn't, like, I still am going to, like, put my lipstick on the same way. Like, this is going to open the same exact way. Like, this, I'll keep going. My CBD cream stuff is going to, like, this is not going to become like a pop top, right? Yeah. It's going to go the same way. And so we carry that into digital worlds. We carry our mental models. We carry the way that we perceive things and we interact with things. And if you teach somebody that it's a screw top over here, and then you take it into another room and they're like, nope, it's a poop, 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 pop, pop top over there. I'm going to be over here trying to screw it back and forth, right? Like, I'm going to be trying to interact with it in the way that I learned. So if you have your 3 little dots in the upper left-hand corner on one card, and then you go to the detail page, and then 3 little dots have moved to the lower left or something like that, like, it's gonna give people some friction, and they're gonna be frustrated because they're not gonna know where their buttons went.
Yeah, they're not gonna be able to complete their test. They're not gonna, like, and that's so important. Oh, yes. These frustrate me.
It's so frustrating when it happens. The other thing that I think we kind of mentioned, but the trickle down effect of like, this is another form of a broken object, is when I go to the detail page and I can do something on the detail page, but I can't, or I can do it from the card. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get that right. So the other thing we didn't talk about is the trickle down effect. So that's where, like, I can do a thing on a card, but I can't do it on the detail page. So let's say I want to, let's go back to our animal example that we've been using on our previous episodes. So our zoo example, okay? So let's say I am on the gorilla detail page, or a specific animal. So I'm like on Chico the gorilla. I'm on his page and I want to donate to him. And there is no button. But I'm like, I feel like I saw it somewhere, but where's the button? And the button is only on the cards. So I have to go back to the list of all the animals, and then I have to scroll down and find him on the list and then find the donate button. I'm trying to think of an example that I had recently with this. So Mighty Networks, which is what we use for the forum. If you want to join us on the forum, forum.OOUX.com, the platform we use is Mighty Networks. And Mighty Networks used to have an object called a topic. They changed that to spaces years ago. But they used to have an object called a topic, and you could follow topics. The follow button was only on the card. So what I was doing is I was linking people to the detail page of the topic. And I was like, you can follow this. Like, here's the thing that you're interested in. Like, and I would give them the link, and there'd be no follow button.
Wild.
On the detail page. They would have to, and they were like, I don't know, you can't follow. I'm like, yeah, you can. You can totally follow. So I'm gaslighting them because I'm like, I follow stuff. You just know they have to back up to the list of topics, scroll down of like the 30 topics that we had, find it again, and then click follow. So we call the trickle down effect is if you can do it on the card, you better be able to do it on the detail page. This is getting into some prioritization too, but like, if it's on the card, you want it to be on the full thing as well.
And we use these terms like we're talking, when I'm thinking about a card, I'm thinking about the smallest representation of that object. So what was it? Chico the gorilla?
Yeah, I just named him.
Chico the gorilla.
He's
like,
a
I'm
gorilla
going to see
somewhere.
the littlest version where it's just like his photo and the name and maybe, okay, my donate button. And then I get to the larger representation. So now I've just expanded. We'll get to this with shape-shifting attributes because you want it to feel like I'm just, what do you always say? Open the window. And it's just like I've now come into the room. So it's like at the card, I'm just looking through the little window and being like, okay, Chico, hi. And then I click in and I'm like, okay, now I'm here and I get all the information. And like, that's what the largest representation, those should feel exactly the same. Like that should, if I have an action there on the smallest, I should have it on the largest. And next episode, we'll get into shapeshifting. Like all of the attributes should be there as well, which is a problem. We'll get into it. But yes.
Even things like between the card and the detail. So what happens in membership.io, where I am on the little card version of a video. So this is where we host all of our videos, but they do the transcripts and everything. So I'm looking at a card and it's like just the 3 little dots. So I have to go to the 3 little dots to get to share. And then when I go into the detail page, they pull share out to like do me a favor or something like that. But the thing is every single time, y'all remember, muscle memory is so strong. Because I usually click the share to get the link. I usually do it from the card, but sometimes I'll open up the detail because I want to look at some other piece of information. I always go straight to the 3 little dots. And I'm like, where'd share go? It's
course.
Right next to it with its little, its little paper airplane icon.
It looks totally different. It's shapeshifted.
But it looks different. It's just a shapeshifting CTA. Yeah. And it messes up my muscle memory. And so in general, unless you have a really good reason and really good research, just keep your CTA menus completely consistent, like total carbon copy wherever you see them, because then people will just know that's where they are, and keep the order very, very consistent. So you're not breaking your objects and breaking the handles off of them so people can't interact with them the way that they've were learned to interact with them in another part of your system. So, okay, if we're thinking about symptoms, so I love this angle that we've like brought into this little mini series of like some of these things, and you really expanded my mind on this. I think these are just some conversations you were having with Jake Z, right? About like that there is a deeper issue here. And I've always just been like, oh, you got to like fix your unintuitive objects and you don't want to make any unintuitive objects. But they are symptoms of deeper systemic issues that could be happening within a product or a team. So yeah, you could go and like fix all your broken objects, fix all your isolated objects, etc. But like if the team's systemic issues aren't being addressed, then they just might get introduced again. So when you're
you're playing whack-a-mole, and that's not what you want to be doing.
Because maybe like a cultural thing that's a problem here. So what do you see as like, what is the root cause of the symptom? Like when you see broken objects, what might that signal to you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, one, it's signaling that the team does not understand enough about the user's process. Like when will they need that action and why? So going a little deeper than like just making sure it's always visible is yes. But there's probably like, they don't really understand when that is going to be used and why is that important? Because if they did, they would know, oh no, we need that everywhere. We need to make sure like that is an important action that they're going to look for, like sharing that what was it called? The form.
The video.
The spaces.
Oh, yeah.
In
topics.
The form. Yeah, topics. Like that is like understanding really clearly the process that someone is going to go through, when and why, which is what I love about getting into the detailed like CTA requirements and really making sure the whole team understands that, and getting into some of the user stories too. This is a sign to me that we really aren't understanding like the use cases that someone is going to be taking these actions enough. Because if we did, we would understand how important they are. We'd be able to know if it is important, then I want it on the card level. If it's not as important, it's not used as frequently, I might be okay with hiding it in a menu. If I have a lot of them, I might like think through the hierarchy and the priority. And if I know which is most important, I'm never going to change that. There's a real clear reason why they're in this order. And I'm going to make sure like that is consistent because everyone understands that, which is the other piece is this could be a sign that you also have silos, which we've talked about. I was thinking
that too, yeah.
Like, oh, this team is not talking to this team, but they have the same actions and they're going to design them totally differently. They're going to use different icons, even though maybe it takes you to the same flow or like create form or like, especially if you have multi-step tasks, like maybe one group is doing that, but we need to link on it in this product over here, but we're going to use a different icon. We're going to just mess with your mind.
Oh my gosh. Wait, I don't know if Google has fixed this, but I have a slide somewhere where I'm talking about broken objects, and it's the CTA menu for like a Google Doc, and you go into it in Google Drive versus Google Docs. And not only like are the actions different that you can take, they're in a different order, and the icons are different too. Like
I bet they're different teams. I bet they're totally different
like,
teams.
There's a silo here, and then there's like the Google Drive team and then the Google Docs team. Like and we talk about these silos, and yes, like we're not saying like go do a reorg, but again, these issues can start the conversation, right? Of like, this is what our silos are doing to us, right? And this is the other cool thing about identifying broken objects and bringing that to the table as something that to talk about and to start fixing is that the business is going to perk up. Because again, these are things that like it is affecting conversion. Often is affecting our metrics, how people can interact with these things, right? Like, and again, trust, some more trust, and people being able to get things done. Like Taco Bell, like just to not see the add to cart button. The thing is I think a lot of teams and people think, like, especially when we have more and more younger people in leadership that have grown up with the internet, they think, oh, people are just going to click around. They're just going to click around. They're just going to figure it out. And I know for me, and like, especially like my parents and any older generation, they don't do that. They do not click around. They're afraid to click on it. So if they don't see the add to cart button, but they see it on the one next to them, they're just going to be like, I guess it doesn't work and I can't add that to the cart. And they're not going to click in. They're going to, and the funny thing about the Taco Bell one is I think the ones that don't have the add to cart are the more expensive ones because they're the ones that require
they're
customization.
Like yes,
they're the meals.
Yes,
they're the meals. So they require the customization. So you literally might be reducing your revenue on maybe like, in that one example, a higher revenue generating object. Okay, so Allie, to wrap us up here, let's put the researcher hat on. We've been doing this at like the end of each of these, this little mini series that we're doing together. So if we think about this from a research perspective, and maybe we are curious, like, okay, let's just using the Taco Bell example, like, what is going on here? Sales are a little bit lower for some of our products. Why might it be? Or really just anything. We can use whatever example we want, but maybe we're suspecting there's a broken object, or we see a broken object and we're like, how bad is it really? Like, do we need to fix this or not? Or are people kind of okay? I mean, you can always look at analytics, like, which is harder to do. Like, you can look at some analytics for our relationships and isolated objects. So are people clicking through? But if it's isolated, they're just not clicking through. So it's hard to see, but you can see like if they're maybe clicking, like if you have a nested object, but it's just not linked or something like that, like they're trying, like me on when we were talking about the in relationship representation. I'll reference that episode when I was talking about writing the review in Etsy. And like I could see the product there. I just couldn't click through because I wanted to be able to see the product listing. Like you can get some analytics on like how much rage clicking is there, like through something like Full Story or something. You can see people trying. But with your CTAs, you can have pretty good analytics on that and being able to see like people they're opening the menu, but that they're closing the menu and they're going somewhere else. So other than that, like looking at your analytics and to try kind of make a case, what else would you suggest when you're faced with some broken objects?
Oh, yeah. Okay. To me, broken objects seem really kind of cut and dry. Like once you see it, you're going to be like, oh, okay, like we need to add this here. But what I would encourage you to do is this is typically a sign to me that the team doesn't really know enough about the user's process, like especially for things like multi-step processes or kind of more complex, not just like an add to cart button. But you want to understand when and why they're going to use it. And that's going to help you understand the priority and making sure you are really clear on where you place them. So if you're seeing broken objects, that just might be a sign that you don't know actually what actions are most important to the users and you're just willy-nilly placing them all over the place. But to get really clear on object placement, you want to go back to make sure you understand what all those CTAs are, understand how they relate to the different roles, know when and why someone is going to take that action, and then be able to say, like, priority-wise, which ones are most important to be on the smallest level, which are going to, when are they going to need it, and make those decisions. And then you're going to have a plan for where to place them. You don't even have to really think through. You're going to know before you get to representation where they go. You don't have to kind of overthink it.
Something you said it made me think of another, like I feel like I have these like classic broken objects in my life. And this is like, you know, I have some like masked objects and isolated objects and shapeshifters that I remember too, but I feel like the ones that I really remember that like are burned into my brain are the broken ones because they're like the most frustrating.
They're gaslighting. Like, they're like, and the most emotional. Like I feel like they're tricking you. I do.
And I think about it was some meal kit service, and I was trying to I knew that I could switch the chicken out for the fish. And I was like rage clicking everywhere. I was like, how? Like, I'm trying to edit the meal, right? but I'm like really editing the ingredient in the meal. You know, I'm switching. It's like chicken, and like I see chicken as an ingredient. I'm like, what? How do I do this? And what I had to do is I had to click edit on the delivery.
Oh, tricky.
So this is another kind of broken object where it's like not actually connected to the thing that is most tangible to me. So the other kind of symptom that, like, to go back to our symptoms conversation, is like, it's a symptom of like, if your buttons are placed willy-nilly, that people are not thinking object-orientedly, and they're not thinking about, like, they're not connecting the action to the thing that is being acted upon, which is always going to be the most intuitive thing, right? Direct manipulation. If I want to change the ingredient, I'm going to reach out and try to touch chicken, you know, to be like,
absolutely,
flip it out for fish. I know I can do it. I've done it in the past. How did I do this? No, I have to edit like the basket, basically, to edit the thing inside the basket. So it's just this symptom, like, and I don't know how this connects back to research, but it's just something else I wanted to say, that, like, I mean, I guess the way that I would, because sometimes it's not that clear, like, because we're got a lot of y'all are working in like complex, abstract enterprise environments, to actually ask, and I'm, as a researcher, I'd ask you to like tell me how I might ask this better, but like, I want to know, when you're switching out chicken for fish, what thing are you editing? Like, what do you feel like you're affecting? Like, I don't know, like, is there a better way to ask that? So it's like really clear, like, do they all, is it just me? Do they all like, oh, I'm editing the order because it changes the price of the order? It's like the price goes up. Like, maybe I'm the weirdo here, but I would guess they'd say like, oh, I'm editing the meal, or I'm editing the ingredient. And is it the meal? Is it the ingredient? Is there a good way to ask that?
Yes, absolutely. And this is where I'd go back to usability testing and saying, hey, if you wanted to change this from fish to chicken, how would you do that? And then just watch them and see. And watch them and see. And you can also, maybe you don't have, if you don't have a prototype and you just want to like talk through their workflow, again, like just going, hey, let's say you had a meal, like describe the situation. What would you do? They'd probably be like, oh, well, I'd go and just, I mean, maybe they won't use the words. So like you have to play around with this a little bit, but I'd encourage you, like, there are ways just to be like, hey, think about the last time you ordered. Did you have to change anything? Did you need to update? And maybe like, did you want to try a different thing instead of like change the protein in your thing? And it's like, oh yeah, I did, but I couldn't figure out how, you know, like getting people just to talk through their experiences is really important, but just having them go through the task. So giving them the task. And maybe you think like, actually, order is where I think they would go to make an edit. That's what your team is really adamant that like, no, that's where they're going to go. They're going to edit the order, not the meal. You go, okay, let's test it. I'm going to give the task to 5 people and see, and we'll find out. Is it really easy to find or not? I mean, that's what we're dealing with broken objects. It's like, can they find the button? Can they find where to take the action? And usability testing is a great way to just see, can they figure out like that.
And if you have something like Full Story or one of those that like, you know, records user sessions anonymously, you'll be able to see that too. Like, I was like, is anybody watching this? Watch me rage click this.
I love,
Sometimes I'm like, I hope this is a Full Story recording for some usability person, because this. I'm like, you know,
this is too easy.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Obviously,
come
I'm
on,
confused,
fix it.
Right? Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Allie. I learned so much. It was such a fun conversation, even though, you know, we got a little bit spicy. We get a little mad about our broken objects.
Always do.
Yeah. They're fun to hate. We're gonna work on eradicating them from the face of the planet.
My life now. Eradicating broken objects.
I mean, all of them, but broken objects. There's no place. It's never a good thing.
No.
Masking has, you know, it has its place. Like, if you just want it cheap and dirty, like, okay, you're a cheap and dirty marketing site, whatever, is not a bit. And then, you know, isolated objects, sometimes you want to funnel people and you don't want to give them a bunch of distractions. So you can do some intentional isolating. Intentional masking is really hard to sell, but like, you know, again, like if your budget is really, really small, like it's not that expensive to demask.
You can do a lot with content, like the instance content. You can make it kind of clear that this is a different thing, or tags or something, even if they look like they're the same. You can do some things. And shape shifting, which we'll talk about next, is like totally you need shape shifting. Like intentional shape shifting is fine. Like we know we need it. Like objects have variance. You got a budget.
We got a budget for it.
Broken objects, never.
None.
Like, there is never ever an excuse.
I have
never a
not
good
come
reason.
across one. We will keep looking. Maybe we'll keep looking for an intentional broken.
Well, in our work, it's never showed up like, oh, I really can't prevent this in any way. Like, I just have to, my hands are tied. And like the compromise here is that I have to create a broken object. Like, no, like you just fix those. Like, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you
All
so
right,
much,
y'all.
Allie. And thanks for
course.
listening, everybody. Happy
OUXing.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the UX Level Up podcast. If you want to connect with me, Sophia, please follow me on Instagram at SophiaVUX, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Sophia Prater. I'm pretty easy to find there. Our music was brought to you by Ruby Vell, courtesy of Sugaroo Records. Thanks again for listening.